When giants cast shadows, the morning Dr. Michael Chen discovered humanity was no longer alone in the universe, started like any other. He sat in the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Chile, watching endless streams of data flow across his screens while sipping coffee that had gone cold hours ago. The radio telescope arrays stretched across the Atacama Desert had been scanning the cosmos for 15 years, searching for any sign that Earth was not unique in harboring intelligent life. At precisely 3:47 a.m. local time, every alarm in the facility began screaming. Dr. Chen nearly dropped his mug as massive signatures appeared on his displays. These were not distant radio signals or faint energy readings. These were enormous objects moving through space with clear purpose and direction. Objects that were headed straight for Earth. Captain Elena Vasquez received the emergency call while reviewing supply manifests for the International Space Coalition at their headquarters in Geneva. The voice on the secured line was shaking with a mixture of terror and excitement. Within 30 minutes, she was staring at satellite images that showed a fleet of vessels unlike anything in human imagination. Each ship was larger than a city, their dark hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb starlight rather than reflect it. The largest vessel positioned itself directly above the Pacific Ocean. Its shadow fell across 3 time zones as it settled into a stationary orbit. Smaller ships, though still massive by human standards, took positions above every major continent. Their formation was perfect, military in precision, and utterly alien in design. Strange symbols pulsed along their hulls like a heartbeat, and weapon ports lined their surfaces like the eyes of some cosmic predator. General Kareth stood on the command deck of the flagship Dominant Victory and studied the small blue world. Below, his species, the Varanians, had conquered 43 star systems over the past millennium. Each campaign followed the same pattern. His fleet would arrive, demonstrate overwhelming superiority, demand immediate surrender, and then absorb the conquered world into the Varanian Empire. Resistance was typically brief and always futile. This world, called Earth, should be no different. His intelligence reports showed a species that had barely managed to reach their own moon with primitive chemical rockets. Their weapons were nuclear, but crude and limited in range. Their technology was advancing rapidly for such a young civilization, but they remained centuries behind Varanian capabilities. The conquest should be completed within a standard cycle. Ambassador Sarah Kim had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, though she had never truly believed it would arrive. As Earth's leading expert in theoretical Xenolink and first contact protocols, she had written the guidelines that world leaders now frantically consulted, but no amount of preparation could have readied her for the reality of massive alien warships hanging in Earth's sky like dark angels. The emergency session of the United Nations Security Council convened within hours of first detection. Representatives from every major nation gathered in New York while their citizens watched news reports with a mixture of fear and fascination. The alien ships made no aggressive moves, but their mere presence communicated power beyond human comprehension. Military advisors recommended immediate nuclear response before the aliens could strike first. Scientists urged caution and attempted communication. Politicians demanded to know how this would affect the global economy. President Maria Rodriguez of the United Earth Council listened to the debates with growing frustration. Every proposal involved either fighting or hiding. No one suggested the possibility that the aliens might be reasoned with, or that humanity might have something to offer besides surrender or defiance. She thought about her grandchildren and wondered, what kind of world they would inherit. If humanity's first response to the unknown was violence, General Kireth authorized transmission of the standard ultimatum at exactly noon Earth time. The message broadcast simultaneously on every human communication frequency, overriding television programs, radio shows, and internet streams. His voice, translated into dozens of human languages by sophisticated Varanian computers, carried the weight of absolute authority. Inhabitants of the world designated Terra 3, you are now subjects of the Varanian Empire. You have 72 standard time units to surrender unconditionally. Prepare your governmental structures for integration into imperial administration. Prepare your population for relocation and productive service. Any resistance will result in the immediate sterilization of your planet. This message will repeat until compliance is acknowledged. Across Earth, nearly 8 billion humans heard these words and tried to process that their world had just changed forever. In some cities, panic erupted as people rushed to empty stores and flee to rural areas. In others, an eerie calm settled. As families gathered around television sets and radios, listening to the alien message repeat, every hour like a countdown to Judgment Day, Dr. Chen found himself appointed as Earth's chief scientific advisor for the crisis. He worked frantically with teams of linguists, anthropologists, and xenobiologists to analyze every aspect of the alien communication. The message revealed sophisticated understanding of human language and culture, suggesting the aliens had been observing Earth for some time. But it also revealed something else. The ultimatum followed a rigid format that suggested routine rather than specific malice. Captain Vasquez coordinated with military leaders worldwide as they calculated humanity's chances in direct confrontation. With the alien fleet, the results were sobering. Earth's most advanced fighter aircraft could not even reach the alien ships in orbit. Nuclear missiles might damage individual vessels, but the aliens could obliterate every major city on Earth before human weapons reached their targets. Any military response would be tantamount to species suicide. Ambassador Kim studied the alien message from a different perspective. The ultimatum demanded surrender and integration, not extermination. This suggested the aliens valued human resources and capabilities. They wanted to absorb Earth's civilization, not destroy it. This created possibilities for negotiation that military thinking had overlooked. President Rodriguez made a decision that surprised her entire cabinet. Instead of mobilizing for war or preparing for surrender, she authorized the largest humanitarian mission in human history. Earth would respond to the alien threat not with weapons or white flags, but with the one thing that made humanity unique among the species they had encountered in science fiction stories. They would respond with kindness. The orders went out. Within hours, every cargo, aircraft, transport ship, and supply vessel on Earth received new instructions. Military transport planes were loaded not with weapons, but with medical supplies, fresh food, and water purification equipment. Cargo ships filled their holds with everything from antibiotics to musical instruments. Even civilian airlines volunteered their aircraft for the mission. Dr. Chen assembled a team of volunteers for the most important expedition in human history. The delegation included medical professionals, engineers, chefs, artists, and teachers. Their mission was to approach the alien fleet and offer assistance to beings who had traveled across interstellar space. The assumption was that such a journey would leave any crew suffering from health problems, equipment failures, and psychological stress that humans might be able to help alleviate. Pilot Jake Martinez had flown relief missions to disaster zones around the world, but had never been asked to deliver supplies to an alien warship. His cargo included fresh fruits and vegetables, advanced medical equipment, entertainment systems, and thousands of handwritten letters from schoolchildren welcoming the aliens to Earth. The letters had started arriving at government offices. Within hours of President Rodriguez's announcement, Ambassador Kim prepared for the most important conversation in human history. She studied the alien ultimatum for clues about their psychology and cultural assumptions. The message was efficient, but emotionally neutral, suggesting a species that valued order and hierarchy but might not be inherently malicious. She wondered if the aliens had ever encountered a species that responded to conquest attempts with offers of friendship and mutual aid. The first wave of human ships approached the alien fleet 18 hours after the ultimatum. Jake led 12 cargo aircraft in loose formation as they climbed toward the massive flagship. His radio crackled with transmissions from ground control, but the messages were unlike anything heard in military communications. Instead of tactical updates and weapon status, controllers discussed meal plans for alien visitors and reminded pilots to distribute the children's letters first. General Kareth watched the approaching human vessels with growing confusion. His tactical officers reported that the aircraft carried no weapons and made no aggressive maneuvers. Instead, the humans were broadcasting music and requesting permission to deliver gifts to the Varanian crew. One pilot had asked if aliens enjoyed chocolate because his grandmother had sent extra cookies for the long space journey. Sub-Commander Vex monitored human communications from the sensor station and reported increasingly puzzling developments. The approaching vessels were discussing medical supplies and entertainment rather than battle strategies. Their pilots sounded more like aid workers than soldiers, preparing for a final, desperate attack. Several had asked about dietary restrictions among alien species, because they wanted to prepare appropriate meals. Jake's formation stopped just outside the range of the alien weapons and waited. He activated his communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. His message was calm and straightforward, delivered in the tone of someone offering assistance to stranded travelers. He explained that Earth had prepared supplies for the alien crew and requested permission to approach peacefully. He added that the supplies included fresh food, because traveling across space must be exhausting and the aliens probably missed home cooking. Ambassador Kim joined the transmission from the lead diplomatic vessel. She spoke slowly and clearly, using simple words that translation systems could easily process. She welcomed the aliens to Earth's solar system and acknowledged that they had traveled an incredible distance from their home. She offered medical assistance, comfortable accommodations, and the opportunity for cultural exchange before any final decisions were made about Earth's status. General Kareth had conquered dozens of worlds and faced every form of resistance from desperate last stands to cunning sabotage attempts. He had never faced an enemy that offered to cook dinner for his invasion force. The situation fell outside every tactical manual and military protocol in the Varanian fleet. He could destroy the approaching ships with a single command, but something about their persistent kindness made him hesitate. The alien commander found himself in an unprecedented situation. His orders demanded swift conquest, but the humans had offered neither surrender nor resistance. Instead, they had presented a third option that Varanian military doctrine had never contemplated. They had offered friendship to beings who had come as conquerors, and they seemed genuinely concerned for the welfare of aliens who threatened their entire world. Hearts changed the galaxy General Kareth, authorized limited contact with the human delegation under strict security protocols. The approaching vessels could dock with his flagship carrying minimal crew and only the supplies they had declared. Any sign of deception or aggression would result in immediate destruction of both the human ships and their planet of origin. Ambassador Kim stepped through the airlock of the alien flagship with her heart racing but her hands steady. The corridors beyond were enormous, with walls that seemed to glow with their own inner light and floors that felt warm beneath her feet. Strange symbols pulsed along the ceiling like living text, and the air carried scents that were alien but not unpleasant. The scale of everything reminded her that she was dealing with beings whose civilization was far older and more advanced than Earth's doctor. Dr. Chen followed with a medical team carrying supplies for treating space-related illnesses. Chef Rosa Martinez wheeled containers of fresh bread that were still warm from portable ovens operated during the flight to the alien ship. Engineer David Park carried tablets loaded with technical innovations that Earth wanted to share freely. Teacher Linda Foster brought educational materials and games designed to help species learn about each other. The Varanians who escorted them were tall and elegant with silver skin that seemed to shift color in different light. Their faces were more angular than human features, but their large eyes conveyed intelligence and curiosity. They wore uniforms that combined military functionality with artistic elements, suggesting a culture that valued both order and beauty. They maintained careful distance from the humans, as if uncertain whether the visitors represented a threat or simply something unprecedented. General Kyreth waited in a conference chamber that could have housed a small building. The walls displayed star maps showing the extent of the Varanian Empire, with conquered worlds marked in red and target systems highlighted in gold. Earth appeared as a small blue dot among thousands of other worlds that had fallen to Varanian expansion. The general himself was older than the other aliens, with ceremonial scars marking his victories and rank insignia that glowed with the same energy as the ship's systems. Ambassador Kim approached with her hands visible and empty, following first contact protocols that seemed absurd given the circumstances. She was supposed to establish peaceful relations with beings who would threaten to sterilize her entire planet. She began with carefully prepared words of welcome, thanking the general for allowing human representatives aboard and expressing hope that their species could find mutual understanding despite their technological differences. The Varanian commander listened with the patience of someone accustomed to receiving surrender terms, but Kim could see confusion growing in his expression as she spoke about cooperation instead of capitulation. He asked direct questions about Earth's military capabilities and strategic resources, clearly expecting responses that would help him evaluate the planet's value to the Empire. Instead, Kim explained that humans believed most conflicts arose from misunderstanding and that communication could solve problems that violence only complicated. Chef Martinez opened her containers and the aroma of fresh bread filled the conference chamber. She had baked during the flight using equipment designed for zero-gravity cooking, and the loaves were still radiating warmth and the comforting smell of yeast and flour. She offered samples to General Kyreth and his officers while explaining that sharing food was how humans expressed care for others, even strangers from distant worlds. The aliens examined the bread carefully before tasting it, their faces showing surprise at flavors that were completely foreign yet somehow appealing. Dr. Chen noticed that their reaction went beyond simple appreciation for good food. These beings seemed genuinely moved by the gesture of hospitality, as if kindness from conquered peoples was something they had never experienced. Sub-Commander Vex, who appeared younger than the other Varanians, asked permission to try a larger portion. When Dr. Chen inquired about his health, the young officer admitted that many crew members had been suffering from various ailments during their long journey from the Varanian home system. Space travel, even with advanced technology, took a toll on biological systems that were evolved for planetary environments. Dr. Chen requested permission to examine any crew members who might need medical attention. He explained that humans had developed effective treatments for spusulated health problems during their own orbital missions and lunar expeditions. The knowledge might seem primitive compared to Varanian science, but sometimes simple solutions worked better than complex ones. General Kyreth exchanged glances with his medical officers before admitting that several young crew members had been suffering from a mysterious condition that their physicians could not diagnose or treat effectively. The symptoms included fatigue, disorientation, and a gradual weakening that seemed to worsen the longer they remained in space. Asterisk. The first patient was Sub-Commander Vex himself, who looked pale and exhausted despite his attempt to maintain military bearing. Dr. Chen examined him gently while asking questions about diet, exercise, sleep patterns, and psychological stress. His portable medical scanner revealed nutritional deficiencies that were common among space travelers who relied on processed rations for extended periods. The young Varanian needed fresh vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that were abundant in the supplies Earth had prepared. Within hours of receiving proper nutrition and vitamin supplements, that showed remarkable improvement. His color returned, his energy levels increased, and his mental clarity sharpened. Other young Varanians requested similar treatment, and soon the medical bay was filled with patients who were suffering not from disease, but from the limited diet available during interstellar campaigns. Engineer Park worked with Varanian technical specialists to share human innovations in life support systems, food processing, and habitat design. He discovered that the aliens possessed incredible technological capabilities but had focused primarily on military applications. They had never considered that technology could serve emotional and psychological needs as well as practical requirements. Simple improvements like better lighting, more comfortable seating, and recreational facilities could significantly improve crew morale during long voyages. Teacher Forster established communication with young Varanians who were eager to learn about Earth culture and customs. She discovered that the alien education system emphasized military training and imperial duty, but provided little exposure to art, music, literature, or the creative pursuits that humans considered essential for personal development. The young aliens were fascinated by human entertainment, stories, and games that encouraged imagination rather than just obedience. Chef Martinez prepared meals using ingredients from both species' supplies, creating fusion cuisine that satisfied alien nutritional requirements while introducing them to the pleasures of varied flavors and textures. The Varanian crew members who sampled her cooking appeared genuinely happy for the first time since the human delegation had arrived. Several requested cooking lessons, which Martinez provided with the enthusiasm of someone sharing a beloved craft. As word spread throughout the Varanian fleet about the human presence, other ship commanders requested permission to receive similar delegations. They had heard about the medical treatments, improved food, and technological innovations, but more importantly, they had heard about beings who showed genuine care for alien welfare without expecting anything in return. General Kyreth found himself facing the most difficult decision of his military career. His orders from the Varanian High Command were explicit: accept Earth's surrender within the specified time limit or proceed with planetary sterilization. But the humans had neither surrendered nor resisted in any conventional sense. They had instead offered something that no conquered species had ever provided. They had treated their potential conquerors as guests deserving of kindness and respect. The commander contacted his superior officers to report the unprecedented situation developing around Earth. Admiral Zorkanth, at Imperial Fleet Command, listened to the account with growing displeasure. The Varanian Empire had maintained control over 43 star systems through consistent demonstration that resistance was futile and submission was the only option for survival. Allowing one primitive planet to delay conquest through humanitarian gestures could encourage rebellion throughout the Empire. But aboard the flagship, something remarkable was happening. Varanians and humans sat together in the conference chamber, sharing stories about their respective worlds and cultures. They discovered that, despite vast differences in appearance and technology, both species valued family bonds, meaningful work, and hope for better futures. The humans learned that the Varanians were not evil conquerors but beings trapped in a system that offered them no alternatives to expansion and conquest. Dr. Chen realized that the aliens suffered from psychological problems that were just as treatable as their physical ailments. Many crew members showed signs of depression, anxiety, and existential emptiness that came from lives dedicated solely to military service. They had forgotten how to create rather than destroy, how to build relationships rather than enforce dominance. The humans could offer them something more valuable than surrender. They could offer them the chance to remember what it meant to live rather than merely exist. Ambassador Kim worked tirelessly to establish deeper communication between the species. She learned that the Varanian Empire had been expanding for thousands of years, absorbing civilizations through conquest or threat of annihilation. The aliens possessed vast resources and incredible technology, but their society had become rigid and emotionally sterile. They had gained the galaxy but lost their souls in the process. Young Varanians, like Subcommander Vex, began questioning the assumptions they had been raised with. They had been taught that conquest was noble and resistance was futile, but the humans demonstrated that there were other ways to interact with different species. Cooperation could achieve more than domination. Friendship could create stronger bonds than fear. Knowledge shared freely was more valuable than technology seized by force. Teacher Forster organized cultural exchanges where humans and aliens shared music, art, stories, and games. The Varanians were amazed by human creativity and emotional expression. They had suppressed these aspects of their own nature for so long that they had forgotten they once existed. The humans helped them rediscover parts of themselves that military conditioning had buried but not destroyed. General Kerith watched these interactions with emotions he had not felt since his own youth. The humans were accomplishing something that thousands of years of Varanian conquest had never achieved. They were making his people genuinely happy. The crew members who spent time with the human delegates showed improved health, better morale, and renewed interest in life beyond military duty. The deadline for Earth's surrender approached, with the general still unable to make his decision. He could follow orders and destroy a planet full of beings who had shown his people nothing but kindness, or he could risk everything to protect a species that had reminded his own people what it meant to care for others rather than simply dominate them. The choice would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of the entire Varanian Empire. The humans had proven that there were alternatives to conquest and submission. They had shown that different species could work together for mutual benefit rather than competing for dominance. Most importantly, they had demonstrated that kindness was not weakness, but strength that could transform enemies into friends and change the course of civilizations. As the final hours ticked away, General Kareth made his decision. He would stand with the humans against his own high command if necessary. Some things were more important than following orders. Some values were worth fighting for, even if it meant sacrificing everything. The humans had taught him that courage sometimes meant choosing compassion over conquest, and that true strength came from building bridges rather than burning worlds. The galaxy would never be the same again, and perhaps that was exactly what both species needed. Asterisk.